evening. Welcome to the City of Englewood's workshop. Today's date is January 16th, 2020. The time is 7:39. Will everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the city clerk please read the Public Opens Meeting Act statement?
This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. Notice of this meeting was included in a notice sent to the record and advertised in said newspaper on January 12, 2024, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted as the required notices under the statute. A copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Proper notice having been given, the municipal clerk is directed to include the statement in the minutes of this meeting.
Will the city clerk please do the roll call?
Councilman Rosenzweig,
Here.
Councilwoman Wasatski,
Here.
Councilwoman David,
Present.
Councilman Wilson,
Present.
Council President Cobb.
Here.
Also present is Mayor Michael Wiles, City Manager Robert S. Hoffman. Sitting in for City Attorney Bill Bailey is David Lafferty, and City Engineer Franz Volsi.
Next, we'll have public comment on the resolutions for vote. Resolutions 20, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Public comment.
Hi, good evening. Horace Ragland, 51 West Hamilton Avenue, Englewood, New Jersey. I have a couple of questions relating to 025-01-1624. I read the two state statutes that you guys stated there, and I'm kind of curious. Did we hire these people and now passing the resolution, or are we doing it the opposite? Because apparently it says who is already representing the city of Englewood in the first paragraph. So if they're working on for us already, what is this, a glorified resolution that we pass on after the fact? Is there a state statute, ordinance, resolution, whatever that says we could do this afterwards? I kind of like confused about this. I think we should have some little more transparency in this. And when you hire any law firm, Mr. Cobb, can you tell me what the hourly rate is for the lawyer, the hourly rate for the associate, the hourly rate for communication, and anything else? More details, please. I think we need more information if you're going to pass a resolution such as this. You guys put a generic number 17,500, which we know is going to be exceeded, but that sounds good on paper. But realistically, what is going to cost us as we go along per hour, per rates?
Do you have that? Go ahead. Yes, please.
Yeah, Mr. Ragbeer, in the first whereas clause, it states that Edward J. Buzak, his firm is already representing the city. Hellring Lindemann Goldstein is not already representing the city. This is they would be co-counsel if the governing body or if the city council adopts this resolution.
So we had a resolution previously for the Bozak and everything else.
Correct.
So this is a
So
secondary one that is added on.
Well, Mr. Buzak's firm was already hired by the city,
Right.
and that's why in that first whereas clause, it references that his firm is already representing the city. They were already hired.
Okay, but like every time you hire an attorney, they give you a copy of this is what we're gonna charge per hour after the fact. What's the hour? $400 an hour, $250 an hour? I mean, there's something more information that needed here. I just hired an attorney and I had $400. He gave me a whole a list of whatever that they're gonna cost.
Yeah, there's an engagement letter dated December 18th. You know, and their hourly rate, their hourly rate is $450.
That's for lawyer fees.
I'm sorry?
And that's for over an associate as well? Is that for an associate as well, or just lawyer fees? I mean, that's not normal.
Well, their hourly rate for all of the attorneys is $450 an hour.
Okay, could I get a copy of that document, December,
You can open it.
okay, fine, I'll do that tomorrow and compare it to everything else. Thank you.
Next.
Amy Bullock, Howland Avenue. I'm sorry, I may have missed, this may be repetitive. The resolution to 116-24-25, number 25, to hire this attorney was tabled at the last meeting to give Councilwoman David a chance to be brought up to speed. But there was a hearing on January 10th. It ended up getting adjourned, but this law firm was present at that meeting and the council had not yet voted to hire them as special counsel. So I understand that oftentimes we have to do things retroactively, but the question was posed by the mayor, how would tabling the hiring of someone to do the master plan impact any deadlines? Yet this question was never brought up. So I'm trying to understand, how is it that this attorney was present at a court date on behalf of the city of Inglewood when the council had not voted to approve hiring them, and who pays that bill? Mr. Bailey is copied on the letter, so he knew about it.
Well,
I'm
Mr.
not sure
Bailey's,
if the
Mr.
council
Bailey's
knew
not
about
here.
it.
We didn't know about that. Mr. Hoffman, you aware of that? Anybody representing us?
No, I thought that the firm of Mr. Buzak's firm was representing the city at that hearing.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Was that Buzak's farm there?
No, it was this guy. Hold on, I'll give you his name. Bruce Etterman, who works for Hellring, Linderman, Goldstein, and Siegel LLP. These people on here. Full disclosure, everybody knows I'm a plaintiff on the lawsuit, but I'm talking to you today as a taxpayer. How does someone have the authority to do this without my counsel's approval?
We'll get back to you with an answer with that. Excuse me? Mr. Wilby?
Yeah, Rick Welby, Inglewood, New Jersey. I got two things that I want to talk about. The resolution authorizing Bergen County law enforcement mutual aid. I would like to find out if any of these mutual aid departments, if any of them have been trained in Israel alongside the IDF. I implore the council to understand that the IDF is a brutal regime of people that impose their will on citizens and kill babies and kill old women, and they're actually a terrorist organization. So I'd want to know if any of these mutual aid departments that are coming in have trained with the IDF or have been to Israel in the occupied section of Israel, and if they train with the IDF, we should be very careful as to bringing these people into Inglewood. Also, I want to talk about this resolution recognizing January as Muslim Heritage Month. I just want to say, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free by any means necessary. I had the privilege of going down to Washington this weekend with a group from the Islamic Center of Passaic County for a march on Washington to go visit Genocide Joe. And being at his Muslim Heritage Month, I encourage people to do their research. Study the Nakba, okay? Palestine was not a land without people for a people without land. Study the Nakba. There's some movies you should watch. One of them is called Tantura. One of them is called Born in Deir Yassin. When you watch the story of Deir Yassin, you see the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians and the murders and the genocide that was committed back in 1947 when the UN partitioned Palestine and gave it to the Zionists. Another thing, being that we're on this Muslim Heritage Month, you also need to understand who are the real terrorists. Rode down with some very fine people, sat next to an imam, and had a very good conversation with him. It's very strange to me how people that push their propaganda on one side do not like to have conversation with people of a difference of opinion. I think there was an organization that had that problem. They were called the Nazis. If they didn't like somebody, they killed that person. And the Zionists are doing exactly what the Nazis did back then to the Palestinians. A lot of them are Muslims, but a lot of them also Christians as well. There's been hospitals that have been bombed, mosques that have been bombed, numerous mosques that have been bombed, not just in Palestine, but in Lebanon, in Yemen, in Syria, and all over the region. So if you want to put a resolution here about Muslim Heritage Month a couple of months ago, you stood with Israel. You need to give the Muslims something and cease fire now and let them know that we acknowledge you as a people and we respect you for the peaceful people that you are.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else have any comments regarding any of these items? If not, we're going to close the public session. Yes, we're going to vote on each one of these by themselves. Right. Does anybody in the council want to pull or table any of these items? I think the first one. We're going to vote on each one of these items individually. So 023. Anybody have any comments? Resolution authorizing Bergen County Law Enforcement Mutual Aid. Yes.
Yes, the resolution authorizing Bergen County Law Enforcement Mutual Aid. I'm not understanding how, was it round table from the top, bottom, or the bottom up? I would like to know, was everyone involved at a round table, like the ones who walked the beat, the police officers, the sheriff, not the sheriffs, but the sergeants, lieutenants, and everything, were they at the table letting them know how Inglewood is? So I don't know if I can vote on this because I would like to know, were they involved with this mutual aid? I don't have that discovery, so.
Huh? I'm going to ask. So is your question, who was involved
Who was
in this
involved?
mutual aid
Yes.
agreement and how they came to
The conclusion,
the conclusion?
yes.
Okay. Mr. Kaufman. Mr. Hoffman?
Thank you, Council President. I can give you more historical background. Some of this goes back to 2013 when there was an agreement between the prosecutor's office, the sheriff's department, and others to have a formalized mutual aid agreement because there had been some incidents in some of the malls in Paramus, and then the county was broken up into 6 regions to assist, and then so each region, if there's some kind of difficulty, the surrounding police departments are able to respond. But there was a specific memorandum of understanding that was crafted. There were several months of discussions back in 2012 and 2013 about that, and it's been updated. Each municipality then adopts a resolution each year, and it's it's based on the zones. So there's 6 zones. Some of this information is there's it's in the packet, but what it does is it shows which group would respond based on the needs of whatever whatever the incident was. So that's where it started, and then I'm not sure. You had a question about roundtables, whether all of our officers were involved, and the answer is not in the last couple of years. I don't know. I don't know who was involved, but it was the Police Chiefs Association, it was the command staff for the different departments, and it was the prosecutor's office and the sheriff's department. Do you know if I missed anything, Deputy Chief? Okay.
Can you just tell me specifically if any of these departments trained in Israel? That's what I want to know.
Mr. Wilby, we'll get to that. Anybody else?
Yes, good evening all. Thank you, Council President. In regards to the resolution authorizing Bergen County Law Enforcement mutual aid, where the New Jersey SA 40A semicolon 14-118, it talks a little bit to particular things, and it says civil unrest and civil disobedience, such as riots, strikes, jails, prison, and it goes on to a conglomerate of different things. But my concern is that we don't have anything here that I've read that covers mental illness and our preparedness for our different mutual aid zones that come into Inglewood. How does that coincide with what we plan to have for a mutual aid that responds to a mental illness situation? And how do we also cover, I understand that there's 6 zones, and if a particular incident command makes a call for a mutual aid and someone in our zone is not available, we jump zones. Bergenfield's not in our immediate zone for this particular situation, but we will jump zones. And so my concern is the crossover. When we do jump zones, even if we coordinate with the people in our zone, how do we have that understanding? Because I think that's imperative, as we've seen in the recent history that people that without medication or without jobs or homelessness create some mental disabilities. And so as our officers are approached with these situations and we call mutual aid, I just want to make sure that the individuals that are coming into our town serving our citizens aren't over-prepared. And nothing here speaks to that.
Okay. Well, thank you for the questions. The city has a pilot program going on right now called Arrive Together. So there's mental health professionals that are available 24 hours during the week, and they are available to ride with the officers if it's safe, or they follow up. So we are one of the pilot programs in the state, so that we can the state, the mental health professionals and the police professionals across the state can see how they can better serve our residents who do have these mental health issues or have other issues that the police departments who have been the first to respond will have additional training. Now, most of our officers have gone through additional training so that they can recognize some of the key signs, and they've also the police department has had training of a couple hundred hours, I believe, prior to Arrive Together, just so that we can we can make sure that we recognize some assistance that's required by our residents, and also to have the ability to call others that are that can give a better diagnosis, can provide assistance, and can help look for longer-term solutions. So that's part of it. One of the other questions that you had asked was when you jump zones, to make sure that responders from other zones understand the situation. So there's if there's a situation in Inglewood, the police command staff is responsible for that, unless there's an issue where the prosecutor's office comes in and takes over. But basically, the police department's in charge, and they coordinate with whoever's coming in from a different zone, and they are responsible for that. And I will defer to the deputy chief if I've misstated any of the procedures from the police department, or I've made a comment that, or if I've made a statement that is not correct.
Before you start, Deputy, and thank you for being available to answer such a sensitive question. I think that it's so important that we get some type of memorandum of understanding, because not only are you guys challenged with this, but I don't want our residents to be suffering because we may not approach a situation in mutual aid appropriately. And so as we go on, we talk about in this contract and in this memorandum of understanding in regards to span of control. And it doesn't speak to how span of control is done here. And what I would like to see, for one, is in the span of control that if in fact that these are separate units and we doing 1 and 3 in the span of control, that Inglewood remains in control of the span of control, no matter who comes into our city. So therefore, it doesn't get away from us. If Bergenfield or Teaneck or Hackensack comes in, we have 1 officer to their 3 officers in regards to span of control. And so therefore, our officers should be more than likely trained on how we would like to move forward in these critical situations.
I agree. I think that, that would be what we'd like to see. Unfortunately, with the amount of officers we have and depending on the situation, when we're asking for mutual aid, it means that we need help. And whenever we can, and I think every agency and every municipality wants the same thing, it's your hometown, you would want one of your officers on scene with other officers for a number of reasons. For us, for the other officers, for the citizens, for everybody. We work here every day, so location, resources, where things are, it's very important for one of our officers to be here. When we had the large protest here, we had officers from 14 other towns show up. And what we did was we would pair that group of 5 or 6 officers from another town with one of our officers, preferably a supervisor. But if we didn't have a supervisor available, we'd pair them with another officer. Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to this mutual aid agreement, what this is really speaking to is regional SWAT team, rapid deployment force, RDT, and what this is doing, this is an agreement between the Chiefs Association and all the other towns saying that our officers can serve on these task forces and they can come in and they can work in other people's towns. Now, I'm on the command staff for the RDF. We defer to that town's chief whenever we go there. We are specially trained in dealing with crowd control and field force operations, things like that. We defer to the chief. We don't make decisions as an RDF outside of what the local agency wants.
Excuse me, Deputy.
Unless they get, yes.
Could you explain what that is for those that are listening to RDF?
Which part?
Can I say something?
The RDF.
Let's cut to the chase.
Yes.
We got an example on Genesee Avenue. 10 o'clock came in with the long guns.
I don't think that's accurate.
That's fact.
But I'll go through it with you.
We got videos of that.
That's not 10 o'clock.
Well, who was it then?
It's the regional SWAT team.
Okay, so even so, going back to that, why are we coming in when somebody's having a mental episode and we got long guns standing on the porch on Genesee Avenue? That concerns the residents. You know, it's instead of helping people that pay your salary, we want to know the best way to de-escalate the situation. Now, Mr. Hoffman So, and I'm going back, Mr. Hoffman talked about Arrive Together, this program. I believe we only have a certain amount of hours committed to that. I've asked for 3 people full-time to be added to the city staff to report to the health department that would be a part of this, to make sure that people who are having mental episodes are addressed properly and we are given the right guidance. I want people who are certified in this to handle these things, who are professionals in this. You know, it's always good. We can go get a certificate. We could go get something else. We need people. This is what they do. This is what they do. So, you know, I think that we would be coming here crossing hairs all night long playing this game. So let's get to the facts. I know what Councilman Wilson is talking about, and that's the example we're talking about.
Yeah.
And to say that, okay, it wasn't Tenor Fly, whoever it was, to have long guns in the city of Inglewood for one individual is offensive. And that's my opinion. But
Right.
It's offensive. So, you know, we need to understand how this works. But if you sit up there and try to defend what I'm saying, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking to understand how it works, number one. And number two, everybody understand that it's got to work for the residents of the city of Englewood. It's just got to work that way. People don't have the confidence. And when they see that going around, you know, and Deputy Chief, you can make those faces and all that kind of stuff. These are just facts. Honestly, these are facts. And if that young man on Genesee Avenue who had that episode, can we agree, did they have long guns on it?
I'd love to explain the situation to you.
No.
if you'd like.
I want to ask you the question, did they have long guns?
There were officers with long guns
No.
on
I'm
scene.
asking you the question. If you don't want to answer the question.
There were officers on scene with long guns.
No. What I'm saying to you, did they have the long guns?
I just said there were officers on scene with long guns 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd love to explain the situation to you, since we don't know which department they were from. So we went to this location. There's a gentleman in severe mental distress. We had a number of officers that went in, de-escalated, got him inside, brought him into custody, got him help. In the process, officers from other towns responded. Officers from a team showed up. They did not come into the house while we were actively dealing with it. They did not enter the scene while we were actively dealing with it. After we got the person in custody safely and we're bringing him out, they went in to see if anybody needed help. That was it. Now, if they have long guns on and they make the decision to sling them and go in and see if anybody needs help versus going back to the truck, opening up the truck, locking them up, then going, that's up to them. Nobody pointed a handgun at anybody. No one pointed a long gun at anybody. And that's it. I really wish we could have had this conversation well before this, because we would have loved to sit down and speak with you about it. But as far as what officers can and cannot do when they come from out of town, we can't dictate every single thing an officer from another town does. Now, if they decide to deploy with a long gun slung, we can talk to the other chief about it. But at the end of the day, they didn't actively enter the scene as we were dealing with that individual. So wouldn't be.
So
correct.
what you're saying is, and I want to be clear, what you just said was, we can't tell them what to do? Is that what you're saying?
We
can't
cannot.
give them we don't have
We
the
can't-
authority to do
We
that?
can't dictate the day-to-day operations of
So-
another agency.
No.
No,
So what I'm
if
saying,
they were here in
if they're here in Inglewood, we can't dictate to them?
We can ask them if
No,
there's
you
issues
said
to
they-
act in a certain way, but we can't dictate other police departments' policies on a day-to-day basis.
But they're
We can
coming
ask
into-
them to leave, we can ask them to do something differently, but it also depends on the case.
But they're coming into Inglewood and we can't dictate to that. That's what you're telling us.
I'm telling you, we can't dictate the day-to-day policies of another agency.
No, let's not play this game. Let's be clear, because if not, then we need to take action on a whole nother level. Because you're saying that we can't dictate to them, so they could come into Inglewood, and you're saying that. I want to be clear. I want to understand this.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
You're saying we can't dictate to them what's going
We
on?
cannot dictate the policies of another agency. When they come into our town, we expect them to do what we ask. But we cannot dictate all the policies of another agency or another team.
So when they come, is it any agreement in mutual aid, when they come to Englewood, can we say, this is what we expect?
I guess what would you expect?
You would
Yes, that
expect
would
to
be-
take your lead from the officers from Englewood.
That's what happens.
If I may? If I may, Council President? Thank you. What I believe part of the question is you're saying that other jurisdictions have policies and procedures for their own officers, and that includes the equipment. When they're sent out, they have to carry certain types of equipment. So, okay, that's the policies that you were speaking about. When they arrive in Englewood, the on-site commander can assess the situation, can tell them what's going on, and so those officers do not have to bring all of that equipment onto the scene. They could lock it up. They could do something else if need be.
Absolutely.
But they also have to deploy with that equipment because we're using a mental health example right now. But if there is an issue in a school, as we've seen in other parts of the country, they need to be ready to respond and rescue. So that's why when they come into the city, they're not sure what they're going to be facing until they get here.
Correct.
So, all right. So that's part of the reason why they're bringing all of their equipment. And then once they're here, then it's up to our officers or whoever the command staff is to say what the situation is and how it should be handled.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes. I brought this up because I thought it was important, and I asked for it to be tabled because I also thought that was important as well. It's very unfortunate that you and number one hadn't had an opportunity to know my concerns in regards to this. I would surely always invite a conversation offline. And just so I'm clear, I'm not here to attack you or the police department. I want to make sure that we give you the best that we possibly can for you guys to succeed. So this is not an attack on you or the department. But in the same breath, I cannot consciously sit here and have my constituents feel that they are being attacked by someone that isn't even employed by our town, coming in with long guns. The feeling for the residents here is very disheartening. Now, if in fact that was your responsibility and your guys and your departments, yes, I would attack you right now, but that's not where we are. So what I want to see happen here, and I know how mutual aid works. When we go to another town, we got equipment to cut a roof off. But if it's a stove fire, we're not bringing in the saws. So there has to be some type of compromise where we're not feeling intimidated by long guns, not even knowing if this individual is having a breakdown themselves that has the long guns. We would pray that your guys are stable enough to handle that, but I've got a real itchy feeling with other individuals coming into our town, and we don't have the span of control. And that's what we're talking about here, is span of control. And I think that's more than doable, more than askable when someone comes in our town and there's got to be somebody greeting them at the board, at the council, out on the street, the command center. This is, hey, whoa, guys, take it easy. It's one guy. He's on the roof with a broom. Put away the long guns.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I would like to see happen here. And if, in fact, that we have to pull this again and talk about details on step by step, so be it. I cannot consciously sit here and allow someone else that's not even employed by our city to come in and dictate on how they're going to surveil our citizens. That's unacceptable. And I will never allow that while I sit in this seat.
Okay.
I do agree with Councilman Wilson, because I'm looking at the mutual aid, it has to be some accountability. So if they're coming out with long guns, the person in Inglewood should be responsible if they pull out this long gun. You can't say, oh, they're not from our town. It should be someone accountable for this. So you can't say like they're just coming out and like, oh, you know, they're not from our town and it just happened. So I want someone to be accountable here to say, you know what, I did my job, I did everything I have to do in order for them not to proceed in some type of manner. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be, somebody has to be accountable for this, and that's the only thing.
Councilwoman Wasowski.
Thank you. I have a question. Just bear with me. When does our current mutual aid agreement expire?
This doesn't, I don't know of another occasion where a town has
I know.
tabled or said no. I know that this causes some issues with other teams and agencies coming in
Thank
here
you.
now.
I want to make a comment. A lot of constituents, not just from my ward, from around the city, saw that video 2 weeks ago where council people, David, Cobb, and Wilson, tabled the mutual aid agreement. And they were extremely alarmed, as was I. And the role of government is to protect the residents. So I'm going to be clear here. I am going to vote for this because that is a responsible thing to do.
Let me just say this. Until you experience something and you're on the other end of it, we've had people who have done that. We have had people who are concerned. People up here are entitled to vote however they choose to vote. We have a responsibility to make sure that we protect all the residents of the city of Englewood. We have a responsibility to understand how the city of Englewood operates. Nobody should be subjected to any aggressive play or whatever the case may be. And if they feel that way, they need to speak up, and then we'll deal with that as well in the appropriate manner. Whether somebody is alarmed, we're alarmed that somebody will come in here with long guns. We're alarmed that, you know, a family has lost a kid and there's still no answers. We're alarmed at that. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to understand how this thing works. And if we're not comfortable with the way it works, until we get comfortable with it, we have to ask questions. We have a job to do just like everybody else has a job to do. Councilman Wilson expressed himself. I've expressed myself. Councilwoman David has expressed herself. So, you know, this is alarming. We're not trying to take power away from people, but what we want to do is remind us that there's an expectation, and if we don't understand how this works, you know, then we have to get to a place where we're comfortable with how it works. We saw what happened on Genesee Avenue. It's no secret. It's on the internet. We want to know. We want to make sure that if somebody comes in here, the folks that were hired to work for the people of the city of Englewood will be protected the right way. Councilwoman, whether it's alarmed or not, you waited till this meeting to come back and say something to anybody. If it was so alarming, you should have reached out to all of us and said that.
Council President,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
May I speak? Thanks. This is, this is a good examination of, of an issue that has several different variables. But what's clear from the council as well as from the police is that when there's a specific issue, the local police department is in charge. And what has to happen is based on our arrive together and some of the other training that's come and some of the post-mortems, that's my term, just from this and different incidents, that there is the ability to issue an internal memorandum or a procedure that would, that would basically say for mental health issues, there's certain equipment that comes, that's on scene, that can be used, and then, other equipment is just, can be locked up. But this is something that, can be evaluated, can be talked through, and then the proper procedures can be updated. And that's what I recommend.
Mr. President, if I may.
Go ahead, Councilman.
I mean, obviously, this is a working moment. I don't think it's a hard stretch or a hard ask. Some of these things in here are antiquated, as we know, and we've rubber stamped them for far too long. And so, as we know that the homeless population and the mental population is increasing, I think that it's only fair to us, to you guys, and our residents, that we have the proper verbiage in here. And as I read it now, the only thing I wanted to include was the mental aspect that mutual aid doesn't speak to. And if we're talking about, just 1 second, I'm almost done for the night. If we're talking about what the city manager says, what was that, arrive together?
Yes.
Arrive together. I think that's important. That's a change. That's progress. I commend you guys for riding or having guys ride with you. I know that can be uncomfortable at times because it feels like people are critiquing you. The only part that I want to critique right now is that you guys are prepared. So if you guys are prepared, our citizens can expect the best treatment possible. And that's where I want this thing to end. That our citizens think that our police department got their back. I don't care who comes in here, what they say, that you guys supersede whoever comes in here.
Right.
They got to come through you before they get to our residents. That's all.
So I think we have a little connection here because these are two different things. When you talk about the mental health aspect, we have a completely different SOP on that. And accredited departments, which we're becoming, we have a full policy and SOP on dealing with emotionally disturbed persons.
Okay.
So that's separate and apart. The agreement right now is just basically saying RDF, RST, RDT, these task forces can work together. That is a very 30,000 feet policy, just saying we can work together. Now, as far as the emotionally disturbed persons policy, it's at length, and our officers train in it. And just so you realize, the Englewood Police Department has sent over 60 officers to CIT training, a full week training. Our Arrive Together program is the only one designed the way it is because we have over 60 officers trained in CIT. In other departments, you lose an officer for the whole day, out of their shift, they just stick to the hip of the screener. Our screener comes in and can work with numerous people every shift because they're all trained in this. And we have a great relationship with the screener. He's like family now. We've all worked together, we know we're going to learn from each other, and we've had some really good outcomes, just like the incident on Genesee. We had a great outcome. We had a young man, we were able to get help. It was a really dangerous situation. I'm sorry the optics of officers from outside of town at long guns are really tarnishing this, but the officers that were involved in that were recognized by like 4 or 5 different groups for awards because of their actions that day. So The mutual aid agreement that is key for us to get help from outside Englewood, from these specially trained units, is what we're talking about right here. Now, if you'd want to sit down and talk about the EDP policy and what we do with that, I'd be more than happy to speak with any of you at length about it. But this agreement is critical, because without it, I don't know if we have another incident, if we're going to be able to get some of these units in here. I really don't, because we've never had this before. And this is a new question we're asking. And if I'm another chief from another town, and I know the council has tabled this agreement, I don't know if I want to send my officers there. Because the whole thing with mutual aid is you need to be called, and the call needs to be received, and then you go. People don't just come in and barnstorm in your town. It's not happening. You need to be asked to respond. And right now, by voting this down or tabling it, we're saying we don't want you to respond. It just puts us all in a precarious position.
And for those who are listening, or those who are, the message is being passed along to them, it's not the fact that I personally, Councilman Kevin Wilson, doesn't want mutual aid. I understand mutual aid perfectly for over 30 years on the fire department. I get it. When you need help now.
Life and death.
You need help now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I want you guys to have the help if needed. But if we are looking at help that our residents feel uncomfortable with, because we still have a grieving family here, that the outcome was just the opposite of the Genesee outcome. So this is a huge issue. And for those municipalities that are listening this evening, it's not that we don't want you to come into our town. We want you to be respectful when you come into our town. And not saying that all have done that, but it's a huge concern, and I'll try not to continue to repeat myself, in regards to the long guns. So it's not an issue of whether or not we want to bring you guys help. If you need help, I think it's imperative that you have help, like yesterday. But I would like to see that program that the 60 officers have went to. I applaud those officers for taking the initiative for those particular credits and classes. But I just want that emphasized when those individuals come into our town. And I think that's doable. I think if we walk away from this right now and say, hey, as the city manager spoke, that we're not that far apart, that we'll work out something of some memorandum that when the guys come in, that they check with the table, that grenades aren't needed, helmets aren't needed. You know what I mean? We don't need riot guns. We don't need riot gear for mental health. So I'm just saying that I think that's an easy ask. I'm not saying vote down mutual aid because you guys need help. I'm saying let's tweak this thing. So, because nowhere in here for the mutual aid, whether we're prepared for it or not, whether 60 officers went to it or not, in the mutual aid, it speaks nothing to mental health responses. And you guys may need that again. And so I just want to make sure that it's covered. That's all.
Deputy Chief, have there been any imposition of requirements or policy considerations by any of the mutual aid communities in your experience?
Other than this?
Yeah, in other words, are there other cities, municipalities, townships, or villages where the city of Englewood is deployed, where there are protocols that Englewood has to respect in those neighboring communities?
So each department respects its own protocols, SOPs, rules, and regulations.
Right, so...
Each department is bound by that.
So there's nothing to stop the good policies that everybody's concerned with by being broadcasted to the neighboring communities that may come into our good city to help us.
Well, right now, every law enforcement agency and law enforcement officer in the state falls under the same use of force policy, which is no longer a guideline. It's a policy. It's very detailed. It's very stringent. So every officer falls under the same thing, no matter what town they come from.
Then give me a little bit of a better sense here. A former federal prosecutor, I'm a former auxiliary police officer. If a tour commander or a chief is in charge from the city of Englewood and we ask for mutual aid, does that person have command and control?
Yes.
Okay. Then I would just, caution the council that we are policymakers. This is a quasi-military organization, the police, who when they feel our residents are vulnerable, need help, then they fall into rank with other neighboring departments, and that the effort here is to give them the resource they need to protect us. And if you want to inculcate other policy considerations, that this governing body perhaps set up a subcommittee or start conversations with the leadership so that they can deploy those sensitivities. I respect them. I respect what the council is trying to achieve. But it is, I think, poor judgment not to put the mutual aid into place. And if we can get the police chief, the deputy chief that's present, to agree to meet with the governing body privately and appropriately at a later time, you can set up those other protocols. But I've never sat, and I'm the longest sitting mayor and official here, where mutual aid has not summarily been accepted for the protection of the residents, because things are getting very different out there. And, if you're saying you don't want people in with certain weapons and machinery, that's not our place. It's our place to say we don't want people intimidated, we want mental effectiveness and all of that. Those are policy considerations. The deployment of particular weapons and practices is really not the governing body's responsibility. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hoffman.
No, it would be the on-site commander's, responsibility based on what's needed. If there's a mental health case, then perhaps the long guns aren't needed. But if there's something at a school, then they're going to be needed.
So if this governing body says we don't want long guns in certain specific circumstances, and they project that to our command, and our command puts forth SOPs, standard operating procedures, and then they tell visiting officers that are there to help, that's the effective roles that we play in this. But to stop it, I think, is just not proper.
If I may, Mayor.
Of course.
I've worked for the city for a long time, and I personally have been involved in seeing where the city manager has stopped the town coming into Englewood for mutual aid because of their horrendous behavior.
That's right.
So it's possible. So I don't want to hear about what's not possible and for us to do in our own town to make our citizens feel safe. That's the only reason we're here. We're not here for my individuality or anyone else's. I'm here by the people. So if I don't speak for them, where is their voice?
Can we disconnect a department, whether it's police or fire, from being part of something if there is a practice that we see, Mr. Hoffman, that's not healthy?
If in fact that you disagree with my statement, I'll give you the dates, the time, and the city offline, because we're not here for that. And I feel like as if you're second guessing about the ability of the council and the city manager, because it's been done. But I don't think this is the proper forum for that, after I stated that, to ask him about the abilities to do that. I think that's improper. And I think we're getting a little bit too far away from the topic of mutual aid.
So let me
I
just...
think it's important that you guys do get mutual aid. And that I want to make clear. I'm not denying mutual aid. I would like it tweaked on how we come in, especially for mental assistance. That's where this is going. And somehow we got derailed off to something else.
If I could, sorry, Council President.
Excuse me? I think the whole thing was, nobody said we didn't want mutual aid. Councilman Wilson, are you in agreement with that?
I am certainly in agreement.
Nobody said that. It's how it's executed. That's the concern. Those are the facts. It's how it's concerned, how it's executed. And what I said was, I need to understand this. We didn't say we didn't want mutual aid. Let's be clear. We want mutual aid.
Yes.
We want that. So let's go with it here. But it's how it's executed to the residents of the city of Englewood. That's what we need to understand. Man, it's easy to come here and work and go home and leave the city of Englewood. But us who are elected here, we live here as well. So to Councilman Wilson's point, we've seen it differently, and we've seen it done. So what we want to make sure is, because we got too many examples of things that are happening, and we want to make sure that when it happens, that we have a positive outcome, not a negative. And it'd be derelict of our duty not to ask these questions. I guess we're just not going to rubber stamp anything. But let's be clear. We want mutual aid. We understand the importance of it, but we need to understand how it's going to be executed when it comes into the city of Englewood. Who's in charge? Who's responsible? And we can ask those questions because we're entitled to do that, because we represent the people. That's what we wanted to know. And his point was that he didn't have the mental health aspect in there. We wanted to understand that. And my understanding is the ARRIVE program, how many hours do we do that a week? 16?
No, it's up to 24 now.
That's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. We need full-time people. I asked last year for 3 people to be put into the budget because it's a problem. And they should be professional people, and they should be employees of the city of Englewood. We spend a lot of money on a whole lot of other things. Nothing is more important than this. This is important.
Council President, if I may, it sounds like there's agreement, everybody wants mutual aid, but the subcontext of this is that there's a mental health issue that all of the members of the governing body want to understand the procedures for. So the police have an SOP or for mental health calls. So that's been, and that was updated in 2023.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's updated a couple times.
Yeah, yes. So what can happen is the current mental health operating procedures can be forwarded to the governing body so that they will be able to have peace of mind about the procedures that are now in place. And then the mutual aid is for, can also be adopted because, if something else comes up as the deputy chief has described, we would need the assistance.
But I guess, again, we're not saying we don't want the assistance. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. We're not saying that. We need to understand and we need to have these things in here. And this is what happens at a workshop to address the issues or concerns that we have. Councilman Rosenzweig.
The hour's late. I'll forego my comments.
Good. Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. We need a motion and a second for resolution 023.
Just to be clear, City Manager, before we vote, there's a contingency where our department heads are willing to work or to tweak our own SOPs for incident commands that come into our town?
Yes, they do that, yes, because they also, there's an after-action review that they do, and they do make tweaks, yes. And then the follow-up was the council will be taking a look at the updated, I will call it the mental health SOP, so that they can have peace of mind.
No pun intended, but, mental health really has peace of mind, but I would like to see that.
Yeah.
Still need a motion.
If that be the case,
Wait,
If that's the
I'm
case.
okay.
you okay?
I'm
We
okay.
need a motion and a second.
I make a motion.
Second. Roll call.
Councilman Rosenzweig,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski,
Yes.
Councilwoman David,
Yes.
Councilman Wilson,
Yes.
Council President Cobb.
Yes. Next, resolution awarding professional planning services contract to DMR Architects for the City of Englewood Master Plan.
Oh.
We need a motion and a second.
Good question.
A motion and a second, then any questions?
I make a motion that we accept.
Second. Any questions?
Who was the second?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes. My question is that, is the master plan include the recreation center? Or is that a separate master plan? Is that included? No,
Zoe.
The master plan can include a lot of different elements.
But I would
But
like
we're
to
working
know-
with them.
oh.
Yes, you ready? Roll call.
Councilman Rosenzweig,
Is it included? Okay.
This is the roll call?
yes.
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 Councilwoman Wasatski,
Yes.
Councilwoman David,
Yes.
Councilman Wilson,
Yes.
Council President Cobb.
Yes. Next, Resolution 25, award professional services contract of Hillerman, Lindeman, Goldstein, and Siegel LLP as special co-counsel to represent the city of Englewood in matters of Englewood One Community versus Englewood. Need a motion and a second, then if we have any questions.
I make a motion.
Ms. David made it. You want a second?
Second.
Second. Any questions?
I've got a question.
Yes,
Um,
Council.
If we go on the first page of Hellering, Lindeman, and Goldstein, if we go down to number one, where middle of number one, it says $4.50 an hour. And then if you continue, on the end of it, it says, also customary subject to possible increase on an annual basis. Do we know what that increase may or may not be? If we already have $4.50, do we know what the increase might be? Because I didn't see it here.
The answer is no. This price is good for calendar year 2024.
So, Mr. Hoffman, I guess this price will not increase during this calendar year. That's what we're saying?
That is correct.
Okay, I'm good.
Any other questions? Roll call. Yes.
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Thank you for letting me read it, because I didn't read it last time, remember I'm new. My question with this company here is,
Speak into the mic, please.
I'm a former councilwoman who voted on this also, Karen publicly stated on Facebook, she doesn't know why we're fighting a lawsuit, why we're paying and spending taxpayers' dollars on a lawsuit. And I just looked at it like she voted for this, but I don't know why she says that we're paying for something that if you don't need to pay for something that you're already doing the right thing. So my question is, if it's already the right thing you're doing, why you have a lawyer involved if it's the right thing we're doing and we didn't go to court yet? I'm just looking at the whole litigation. I'm just a little confused.
So, listen, we're taking this action to protect the city, to defend the city, Councilwoman David, and that's what we do here. So I would just, whatever else that you got on Facebook, leave it on Facebook, and just focus right here on the facts, and we'll be good.
I've been in court several times, and I didn't get a lawyer until I was like taken to court. I mean,
Okay.
you know, I don't know.
Okay. Roll call.
Councilman Rosenzweig,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski,
Yes.
Councilwoman David. No. Councilman Wilson,
Yes.
Council President Cobb.
Yes. Next, resolution 026, resolution rejecting all bids for bid number 23R through 37 brush, leaf, vegetative waste removal bid. We need a motion and a second.
I motion.
I'm sorry, what was this for the leaves?
Yeah,
Number
we have a
26.
motion on the floor. We need a second. Okay. Any questions?
Please.
I got a question. It's probably directed to the city manager. Since we're rejecting this, are we, do we have a range we're looking for as far as pricing?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I guess you can share offline.
Yes, and we're also going to wind up tweaking the RFP before it goes out based on some of the questions that did come in from the vendors.
Okay.
Roll call.
Sorry, Councilman Rosenzweig,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski,
Yes.
Councilwoman David,
Yes.
Councilman Wilson,
Yes.
Council President Cobb.
Yes. Next, resolution 027, a resolution rejecting all bids for bid number 23-38, tree trimming and removal bids. Have a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second? Second. Any questions? Mr. Hoffman, maybe you want to explain what you're doing here?
Thank you, Council President. Yes, we're asking the council to reject these bids. We want to revise the bid specifications. The DPW and has taken a look at it. They would like to be able to add a couple of other items to the request for a proposal. So that's what we're going to do. And we also had a couple of questions from tree contractors, so we want to be more specific in that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman Rosenzweig,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski,
Yes.
Councilwoman David,
Yes.
Councilman Wilson,
Yes.
Council President Cobb.
Yes. Next, resolution, we gotta vote the table.
Table's after. Until after closed session.
We gotta table it down.
Until after closed session.
Okay, we'll vote on it. Resolution 028, appointment of members of Board of Adjustment. This resolution has to be tabled to after close. And then we'll come back out and we'll vote on it. So we need a motion to table. Motion to table this, but we will vote on it when we come back out of closed session. We need a motion and a second to table. We got a motion, a second? I'll second it. Roll call.
Councilman Rosenzweig,
No.
Councilwoman Wasatski,
Yes.
Councilwoman David,
Yes.
Councilman Wilson,
Yes.
Council President Cobb.
Yes. Next, we have Resolution 029, resolution recognizing January as Muslim Heritage Month.
So moved?
I second.
Any questions? No? Roll call.
Councilman Rosenzweig,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski,
Yes.
Councilwoman David, Councilman Wilson,
Yes.
Council President Cobb.
Yes. Next, Resolution 030, honoring Reverend Dr. Lester W. Taylor Jr. for his 30 years anniversary at Community Baptist Church. We need a motion and a second.
I motion.
Second.
Questions? Roll call.
Councilman Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wasatski?
Yes.
Councilwoman David?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Council President Cobb?
Yes.
Can we take a 5-minute break?
Yes. Yes. 5-minute recess.
I have to apologize. I have a certain animosity towards people.
We're live. Councilman Wilson? Motion to reconvene the meeting. We need a motion to reconvene the meeting.
Motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting is reconvened. Next, resolutions for discussion. The first 6 we will discuss, then the other ones we have to go and close, and then we'll come out and take action on those. So the first one is the acceptance of completed projects. Mr. Hoffman, could you explain to us that?
Sure. This is to give the council a heads up that at a future meeting, there'll be a resolution which will list projects that were completed in calendar year 2023 that the engineer will deem that are completed. And then the council would be asked to pass a resolution. The resolution is then sent to the Joint Insurance Fund, to our JIF, and then we have complete liability coverage on all of those projects. So this is something that's usually done at the end of the year or the beginning of a new year. So it's everything from completion of a playground to certain road projects and things of that nature. So that's just a heads up for the council.
So that'll be something we can expect at our next council meeting?
Well, we're not sure. There's it'll be up to the engineer. Just we do have projects that are completed, and so it'll be either at the next meeting or a meeting in February.
Okay. Next, shared service agreement with Bergen County for tree removal services. Mr. Hoffman, I guess that's you.
Yes, thank you, Council President. This is something that the county is requesting a 5-year agreement. It's for the removal of trees on county roads. The county is responsible for work on the roads, but behind the curb line, there's a procedure that they're asking to be followed. It's been revised, and I don't know, Franz, have you had an opportunity to take a look at this? There's there's work in the power lines. There's other things, but
Yeah, this is essentially, some requirements that the county is asking us as part of, helping us out doing certain projects, et cetera. And they require the same, thing for road projects as well. Whenever they do a mill and pave project, whether it be Engle Street, Grand Avenue, we're responsible to do all the curbing, the handicap ramps, et cetera. So that's essentially part and parcel of the same thing.
So is this a resolution that we will expect to be on for next meeting?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Franz. Next is geese control contract. Mr. Hoffman, I guess that would be you.
Yes, thank you, Council President. This is just we're doing research on different methods to prevent or limit geese from being in their parks and then cleaning up after the geese. So there are we're evaluating 3 different options, and we will bring a recommendation to the council at one of our near meetings, so that we can have this ready for the spring, and, just help to make sure that geese in the parks is limited, and that the playing fields in the parks have less fecal content than they had in 2022 and 2023.
Next, Green Acres Jake Law Program Grant for improvement at McKay Park.
Yeah, that's one of mine. We're applying for a grant to replace the playground area in McKay Park along the Williams side. Of Williams Street. Yep, by Tibbs.
Vincent Tibbs, by
Yeah,
Tibbs.
exactly. I don't know if any of you have been out there lately, but that playground is pretty worn, pretty torn, broken in a lot of places. So it needs to be repaired. And it is heavily used when the weather permits, especially when the K-Tibbs Center is active. So we're replacing it by an all-inclusive playground. I believe this is the only playground in Inglewood that's going to be deemed all-inclusive. That means anybody, regardless of your physical capability, will be able to use this playground area. This grant, should keep in mind, this grant covers 75% of the cost of this playground. So it's a good opportunity for us to better include everyone, to just enjoy our parks and be part of the community.
How much is the playground?
The playground itself right now is about $720,000. The grant will cover 500 and change, and the city will have to pay less than 200,000.
Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
And thank you for being so diligent on what you do. And I think that playground is at the end of its life expectancy. But I just want to make sure, does that include the benches as well?
Yes,
Because those benches are very hazardous.
Everything's going to get replaced. That whole playground area is going to get removed. Benches, everything's going to get removed. You'll get new benches, new tables, and a new playground area.
Yeah, that's important, because I think that's one of the most used parks by our young youth, with Vincent K. Tibbs being right there. So, well over needed. Thank you.
So what are our plans to how are we going to make up the difference?
In terms of the 200,000?
Right, because that's about 200, right?
Yeah, that's something we'll have to include as part of the capital budget on the recreation.
Can we get Millennium to help us with something to see if they can find some money for
Well,
us?
they're the ones that actually located this grant for us, that'll cover, 75% of the cost. The only thing with this grant is we're kind of running into some tight deadlines. I believe the submission is February 7th, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So we have to get all our public hearings, notices, all that out of the way prior to. So
What do we need to do to help you to get this done?
Probably
So-
at the next meeting.
Yeah, there's a public hearing at the next meeting, Council President. So it's been advertised by our clerk, and we've followed the procedures. Also, the playground is on our website. That's one of the requirements, and there are benches in there. And it's on the engineering page, and it's also under news and alerts,
That's correct.
so that people can take a look at it.
And it's pretty extensive. It's probably twice, if not 3 times as large as what's in there now.
Well, we have the space there,
We have the space.
Yeah.
That's correct.
so be good. Then we can fix the curbs out there too.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Next, we have accepting a donation from the Soul Trading for the EPD.
Thank you, Council President. The police department received a donation of, I believe it was $3,000, and this is the procedure that's followed as to, for the council, for the governing body to recognize it, to accept it, and then it's, they're asking that it be used for, I guess, for civic events, for community needs.
Good. Next, recognizing February as Black History Month. I think that's self-explanatory. Who? The resolution will be on for the next meeting.
Does that come with signage?
The rest of these items, we will, if you follow your agenda, we will have to go into close, and then we will come back out, and then we will take action. Items for discussion. We have one ad hoc committee for recreation master plan.
Council President, I believe that should have been the strategic plan, the ongoing strategic plan. The council had passed the resolution last year, so the ad hoc committee is working with Rutgers University and for the strategic plan for parks.
When is that going to be done?
Probably in the first quarter of the year. Is that when it?
It should be done around April.
Thank you. Okay, more to come on that, I guess. Next, street sign improvement project. That's me.
That could be you.
No, that's me.
There's-
That's
yes.
what I asked to put on there.
There's a couple of things that we're working on. I mean, just, there's, when you say street sign, it's sort of generalized because there's a lot of street signs, so we have to be careful as to what we're talking about. I'm working with the police department to first identify the most dangerous intersections in Inglewood, whether it be stop intersections, et cetera, and change all the stop signs to more flashing, that sort of thing, so they're more visible. The street sign on here is more predicated to the naming of the streets, and to make sure that we have something that's more based, Inglewood-based, as opposed to what's out there. Now, we've gone around and we've sort of like evaluated all our signs. A lot of them were falling apart.
Well, Mr. Volsi, not to interrupt you, but the idea was also that we would change all our signs, and we would change them to maroon and white, like all other towns that are going centric to that. And you're right, many of the signs are falling apart.
Yes.
They have worn out their time.
Yes.
You know, they've served their purpose.
In terms of making it the Inglewood colors, only the street signs, the names themselves can be changed to Inglewood
Right.
colors. Obviously, the other
Yeah.
street signs
Oh,
have been
yeah,
sort
yeah.
of.
We know that, yeah.
So, but we're working on that. I've actually reached out to other municipalities that have gone through the process, getting quotes, et cetera, and make. It's probably going to happen in a couple phases.
Yep.
But we're working on phase one now, and I think it'll be exciting.
I think we need to, put some,
It'll definitely, it'll definitely,
beautify, let's beautify the city.
it'll definitely beautify the town.
yeah,
I
let's do
totally
that.
agree with you.
Also, I have a question for you while I have you standing in front of me. The sign that got ran over on Lafayette
Yes.
Place.
We are working on replacing that as soon as possible. We actually have to, believe it or not, retrieve the sign from the DPW because there's a certain chip that's in there that specifically tags to the one that's across the street. So we have to retrieve that chip and build another sign around that. Yes.
Okay.
So,
What
as
does
crazy
that
as it
sign cost?
We're working with the contractor now. It's not going to be something outrageous. It'll be something probably under $5,000. It's not going to be something crazy, but we're getting some more specific prices. But the manufacturer absolutely stated we need to retrieve that sign so they can
Right.
rebuild everything based on that chip.
Mr. Hoffman, any news on that sign? Who ran that sign over from the cameras?
Council President, I'll check tomorrow. I did not follow up on that today.
Okay. Thank you. Next, Inglewood, sorry. Sorry.
If I may. We're talking about the stop sign, is that correct?
We are talking, the one side on Lafayette
Yellow
was
sign.
a yellow
You know,
sign
the
for the
two yellow
crossing push
signs on there?
button.
Somebody ran the sign down, knocked, and kept going.
Is that the flashing?
Yes.
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 And so they're kind of universal, right? And so-
They're universal in terms of the signs themselves, but there are certain chips that are in the sign that that bounce off each other. So
No. Thank you for explaining that,
Yes.
but I get it. And when you said $5,000, you got my attention.
it'll be less than $5,000.
You still got my attention, because it's a sign to me. And there's things that I don't know. But I think I know a little bit about this, that if in fact that these things are kind of disposable and can be ran over, would it not behoove us to look at multiples so we get a better pricing?
Well, that's,
You know what I mean? Like spare signage, like if we buy 10, don't we get some type of break? Because
Yeah,
they're going to go, or these chips are going to go, so why not, you know?
my understanding is when they install them, they sync them with one another. Unless you buy couples all the
Together,
time together. That's the only thing, because you can have multiple of them in the street, and you don't want to push a button and have all of them start going off.
No, I gotta ask
Yeah.
because we're in inclement weather and these things do happen.
Yes.
So, all right.
We're working on it. We're gonna, if it becomes a nuisance where that sign in particular, or we know of one sign that keeps getting knocked over, we may look at bollards or something that should protect that sign in that area.
That's an expensive check.
I'm sorry. On Jones Road, Van Nostrand, we're waiting for a LED light
Yes.
around the sign. What happened to the sign?
Not sure what happened. I know about the LED lighting because I'm talking to the police department about getting a stop sign that was.
So has it been ordered yet?
I believe it has, yes.
Okay.
So we're just waiting for it to come in so we can erect it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Next, the Inglewood 125th anniversary celebration. Mr. Hoffman, I know you gave us something here, but I think there's more to come. There has to be some work done, and we have to talk about this, about adding some people to help us meet this objective. Obviously, time is of the essence, but I will get back to you with a laundry list.
Sure.
By this Friday.
Thank you, and just if you could note that the date was changed because there was a conflict with the council meeting date, so,
You're talking about the night market?
yes.
Right. But I'm sure we should do a bunch of things to recognize 125 years that the city's been in existence. So we got to get to work on that one.
Sure, yeah, there was a projection, there was an outline with a potential of 4 different options, four different things to do, but whatever the governing body wants to do is fine.
Yes, Council.
Last year, I was on the chair of the committee, and I wasn't aware of any meetings. And so when this comes about, it's concerning to me that I'm co-chairing with a colleague that is no longer with us, and we had no meetings that I was aware of, and then we come up with this information. So I don't.
We'll circle back with that. We'll get that.
Okay, because I have put together, as well with my constituents, a whole host of people that want to contribute to the rich history of our fair city for 125 years, and I don't want to limit any community within our town to share their knowledge.
Anybody, any council member who has people that they want to participate in this, just please let us know, and everybody will be able to afford it that opportunity to participate if they have ideas. So all I have to do is get them to myself, and Councilman Wilson was the co-chair, so I'm going to respect that he's going to stay in that role. But anybody who wants to participate in some form or fashion, and that means work, that we'll do. But this is got to happen fast, so
yes,
please feel free to email us. Next, the 2024 budget timeline, Mr. Hoffman.
Thank you, Council President. Yes, there's a memo in the packet that just outlined the benchmarks for the 2024 budget process, just with the state deadlines for the filing of the different forms on the revenue side. And then we do have a list of dates that that will be circulated just to see if that meets the governing body's criteria so that we can have budget meetings in February with members of the governing body. We're going through right now with the department heads, we're making our second pass through the budget, tightening things up, and we'll, we want to be ready to provide it to the governing body. So the memo just outlines the different timelines. It also provides the front of the local public finance notice that lists the deadlines that the annual debt statement, the annual financial statement has to be filed, and some of the work that has to be done so that we can provide the governing body with a draft budget.
Thank you. Next, school board liaison. I put that on there because I believe that there should be some dialogue between the school and the city of Englewood as council. So we should be working in concert with one another. We do share their facilities and other things, so it's important that we come up with the relationship, or we establish a relationship, and it's long overdue because we're trying to serve those people already. So I think this is something we should add to our regular liaison roles from the council's perspective. And last, Teams for Peace Program 2024 Peace Poll. Lisa, you want to talk about that?
I can try.
Please, just try. Kind of tell us, well, I know you're struggling talking tonight, but I think some of us need to know the whole conception of that and what you,
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. The Teens for Peace program is a Rotary Club of Englewood program. And this program is now in its fourth year. It's been a well-established program and a successful program. And I believe everybody, I know Charles and Kevin and Ken, you were at the last, some of the events, and I know that we had sent some emails to the Board of Ed when we started, so I know that you know about it too, Angela. And what this program is, it brings together students from all 5 middle schools. So we have 5 middle schools in Englewood, and the schools select 5 students from each school who participates, and it's facilitated by the Bergen Family Center. And the students during COVID, they met via Zoom, but last year and this year they're meeting in person. And they discuss things like peace and community, and it bridges, creates bridges between different communities, and it's been very, very successful. It's an 8-week program. Toward the end of the program, they do a community service project together. Last year, they packed food for families in need from the Bergen Family Center. And what was really nice about that was that they were able to include their classmates in that project. And then at the very last meeting, we planted a peace pole, and what a peace pole is, it says, "May peace prevail on earth" in 8 different languages, and it's the international symbol of peace. And a lot of towns have it. There are over 200,000 in the world. Englewood had none. Now we have 3. So the reason the program is in the process of getting started now, and the reason this came to the council is that the peace pole, the peace pole gets planted. We need for the council to give permission for where the peace pole gets planted. I know Charlotte's. Give me 1 second. Charlotte Bennett shown it really takes care of the peace pole part. I know she had a conversation today with you. There's one in the there's one in the first ward, there's one in the third ward, one in the fourth ward. So, so I think the decision is just, in the second ward, I think the one place is on Broad Avenue, by Garrity Field, not Garrity Field itself, I don't think would be a good place, but in the park next door to it. And I think that would be a good place for it. So if the council is in agreement in that place, then we can just put it on the agenda next week and then move forward.
That's okay. Yes, Councilwoman.
Hi, I have a couple questions. I did see it, I know 5 years ago about the forcing techniques, that it was not probably done the right way in Inglewood. So I think it should be some type of training with these students or some type of information, what a peace pole is. Because I've driven down some peace poles and I'm looking at them like they're just a pole to me. You understand?
Angela, this is part of a program.
I know.
So
Can I finish?
so the program is with the students.
With the students.
So the students are part of the process. They actually help pick the different languages that go on the peace pole.
The languages. You said how many languages?
There are 8 languages on the peace pole. The students they get together they get together every week. They have dinner from 5:30 to 6, and then they have conversation, and they have topics. And this is a Rotary Club of Englewood project, and we have a facilitator they're paid to facilitate a program
Okay.
Where do they meet at?
at the Bergen Family Center.
So maybe you should go visit.
Okay, I'm
the
gonna go
Bergen Family
visit.
Center.
I think I'll
Is that
visit.
okay for her to go visit?
Can I visit?
Yeah, but it's not the starting at the end of February.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll visit, Lisa, and thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So there's one in the first ward at the library. We're talking about putting one in the second ward for this time. There's one in the third ward at Veterans Park, and there's one at McKay Park in the fourth ward.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Funding.
What's the question?
Funding.
It's a Rotary Club of Englewood project, so the Rotary Club of Englewood takes care of the funding. We do get a grant. Every year we've done it, we've gotten a grant that's partially paid for it as well.
Okay. Nancy, ready? Yep. Next, we will have our public session. Name, address, and questions. Before we do that, what's this? Mr. Hoffman, before we go into public session, will you want to answer the questions that we had?
If you want, sure.
Oh, 1 second. So what we want to do here before we go into public session is I've asked Mr. Hoffman to read his responses to the questions from the last meeting. No, we're going to get answers. We got to get answers.
All right. Council President, the Councilman Wilson has made a valid point. He's just asked if we could introduce our guest attorney for the evening, and that'll give me a chance to look for the...
He's sitting in for Bill Bailey today.
Good evening, everyone. David Lafferty, Huntington Bailey, partners with Mr. Bailey.
I apologize. I should have introduced him at the beginning of the meeting.
Welcome, David.
Thank you.
William doesn't look the same.
Okay.
Better or worse?
One step at a time. We're getting them now. We'll work on that. Mr. Hoffman, can you lead or you're looking for it?
Yeah, I just had it on the desk, Council President. Here it is.
Okay,
All right.
let's start. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. At the January 2nd reorganization meeting, there had been 6 6 members from the public had come to the microphone to ask questions or to make statements. So one of the questions that was asked was, had to do with, about the recreation director who was put on paid administrative leave and the comment was that a police officer was not put on paid administrative leave after an incident that occurred in September of 2022. So the answer is that the city followed the same procedure for both the police officer and the recreation director. The terminology is just different. During the initial investigation, both the police officer and the recreation director were placed on paid administrative leave. Upon the completion of the investigation of the September 2022 incident, the police officers involved were sent for medical and psychological examinations, and they were then cleared to return to work. So we followed the same procedures. We're just waiting for the completion of the of the report on what happened in December. And also what we're waiting for is one of the officers who's was put on paid administrative leave. There's currently the criminal investigation that occurred, where we're just waiting for a presentation to the grand jury before any additional action can be contemplated, because the prosecutor's office or the attorney general's office has all of the information related to their investigation. So that's what we're waiting for. But the processes are the same, and both are being treated in a fair and equitable manner in accordance with the applicable law and the constitutional rights of the people that are involved, the staff that are involved. And again, this is a personnel matter, so it's something that we have guidelines that we have to follow, and we're doing that. A second question was asked that had to do with whether the city had received the deed for the Taylor Bliss House. That question was answered at the meeting, and the answer was that to date the city does not have the deed for the building. We're not the owner. It's technically still the Kesher Synagogue. Then there was a resident had also commented on the recreation director being placed on administrative leave. Again, and the same answer applies as to the first question about it. What was the procedures, and we've just gone through that. The resident then also asked a second question related to the master plan, and this resident indicated that they were not in favor of a company from Westwood being appointed to complete the master plan. And the company from Westwood did not submit a proposal for that. Tonight, the council took action based on a consensus of the planning board, and the council has adopted a resolution to hire DMR Associates to complete the master plan. So they will be looking at 13 or 14 of the elements of the master plan. And I guess, Councilman Wilson, the planning board meets next week?
That is correct.
Thanks. Go ahead, sorry.
And we sought out and studied the people that are presenting the proposals for the planning board, and DMR presented the most diligent approach for us. And I thought it was important that the new planning board organization have meeting not only with the council, but with the public. So this gives the public opportunity to have input, and we have some wiggle room if in fact that the public is not satisfied with the 2 meetings previously scheduled for you guys to understand how we're moving forward. We have wiggle room with DMR to add additional meetings.
Okay.
Thank you. I also believe that we will have an introductory meeting with DMR. Absolutely. For the public to participate in that meeting. So there are a series of meetings that have come up. We'll do everything in our power to make sure that everybody's informed when these meetings will take place, because we want participation at the highest level. So you make sure we want people to participate in this master plan. So come with your ideas and what you want to look, how you want Inglewood to look 10 years from now. So, it's important that we have these meetings, but it's going to be very transparent, and what we want to do is have these meetings in every ward as well. But we will have meetings here as well from a council's perspective.
Okay, and I thank the council for taking action tonight so that the planning board can get moving on it next week. Then there was a resident also asked questions about progressive disciplinary steps related to both the Recreation Department and the Police Department. And it should be noted that there are progressive disciplinary steps in the employee handbook that had been in effect from 2020, as well as the one that was adopted on December 19th of 2023 by the council. And then there's also progressive disciplinary steps in basically in the procedures for the police department as well. Last but not least, a resident asked a question about when was the human resource director hired, and the human resource director was hired on February 1st of 2022. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Now we will have our public session. Please come to me. Mike, name?
I'm sorry, no, it's 2023. 2023 she was hired, sorry.
2023.
Yeah.
Name, address? I don't know if is it on? It's a red light. It's not a green light.
There we go.
Miles, could you help him out? Oh, there it is. It's on now. Go ahead.
Ignacio Acosta, Dwight Place. Before anything else, you guys haven't seen me before because I just moved to the city recently, but I have connections here. I've had my first client from 2nd Ward. I've gone to church in the 1st Ward. I have family and friends who are in the 3rd Ward, and now I'm a constituent of the 1st. So my reason for coming out tonight is to talk about an ordinance you guys passed last month, 2339.
Can you speak up a little louder? Because
my reason for being here is to talk about an ordinance you passed last month, 2339, the one about vacant and abandoned properties.
Okay.
So first, it's a good ordinance. I know it was a state passed one 2 years ago, and that's why you guys adopted it. Basically, I wanted to talk about the fact that this is insufficient, I think, in my mind, for Englewood. I know you guys probably already know it, but I'll repeat it. Englewood is a very unique city. That's why I moved here. It has resources. It's something that not a lot of people talk about, but U.S. Census says that we have 1.6 billion in retail sales here. Healthcare costs, healthcare that we spend is about 1.1 billion. No other county in Bergen, no other community in Bergen is like that without being the county seat or having some outside connections that help them grow. So Englewood is really influential, resilient. That's why I'm here. But let me tell you what I see when I drive into the city. When I come in through Forest Ave, I see rental properties that are occupied, but their fences are falling apart. When I come down Palisade Ave, I see a residence that is well manicured, but the shutters are falling off, and it's owned by a corporate entity who went against the council and probably lost, but they haven't sold that property. When I come in through Tenafly, we already know that CSX and the railroad tracks are pretty bad on Dean Street. The point is that this is great, but it's only for the most egregious offenders. I think we need to remind ourselves that what we have here is a great city that is possible to have 100% occupancy in every facility, every plot of land, and we can do it. I mean, when you think about Palisade Avenue, there's storefronts that have been vacant since the mayor's first term. And I know that because my first job here was as a tutor on Palisade Avenue, so I've seen them. You guys may not talk about it, I'm a CPA, but I know that there are companies who consult and really push for understanding the difference between physical occupancy and economic occupancy. So the incentives for speculators in the community are separating from the incentives and the desires of the council and the residents. We need to make the cost of maintaining the status quo higher than the cost of fixing things moving forward.
Okay, you finished?
Last thing I did want to say is that, you know, I mean, there's, you guys heard in the news that there's some malls that are thinking about building residential units nearby, and they say it's to help, you know, the malls that are dying, but anyone who's been to those malls knows that they're not dying. The reason why they're building those residential units is because people like me want to live near a walkable downtown, want to be near access to major highways, want to be a place that we can see our friends and family, have ample parking for anybody who wants to visit us. So what are some of the things that Englewood has that's very evident and visible? An extremely walkable downtown, ample parking, Performance Arts Center. We have a lot of things out here that people want, that when I talk to people who have moved to other towns, they kind of get jealous because they thought that what they were getting there is what I'm getting here. So we have to do something to stop the predatory speculators, and not just those, because I don't want to penalize everybody. There's also people who have unexpected windfalls because they moved out of the community, a great aunt passed away, and they've inherited something that they have no interest in, but they know the value of it.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Costa, I think the ordinance was 2329. Yeah.
Rick Wilby, Inglewood, New Jersey. First and foremost, I want to extend my deepest condolences to Michael Wiles on the passing of his father. I also want to extend my condolences to the family of Alvin Trusty that used to come here religiously. He passed away. I think his services are sometimes this Thursday. Me and the mayor have had this conversation before, and regardless of how we come here and we talk and we agree to disagree, we live in a world where people have been estranged from their humanity. People no longer know how to treat people. They don't even know how to agree to disagree with somebody without not being confrontational. And this is the problem, because people have a lack of respect, not only for the message, but for the messenger. Oftentimes the message is offensive because you're talking to people that have lived lies and they don't want to accept the truth. So with that said, 102 days of bombing in Gaza, and still going on some places in the West Bank. They're bombing currently Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis. Schools have been bombed, mosques have been bombed, churches have been bombed. There have been church members that have been killed in the church by sniper fire. Over 300 healthcare workers killed. Over 100 journalists killed. The more journalists have been killed in any war since World War II, 102 journalists. Just so you know, killing a journalist is a war crime. These people are recording the deeds of the armies and what's going on, in this theater of war. 102 days, okay? And we're still going on. People are getting killed. More bombs, tonnage, have been dropped in Gaza that have been dropped in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And in some cases, some of these journalists, their entire families are being targeted. Not too long ago, there was a journalist, Shireen Abu Akleh, that was shot in the head by a sniper. And she didn't even have the decency of having her funeral without, the Israeli occupation forces coming there and disrespecting that. 25,000 dead. Half of those are children. I've seen images online with kids in incubators dead. Those kids are not a part of Hamas. They're children. You're a doctor, Ken. Lisa's a doctor. Okay, you understand the value of life. Every life has a value. Nobody has the right to say that there's no such thing as a Palestinian or these people don't exist. They absolutely exist. I was with about half a million of them in Washington over the weekend. They absolutely exist. Okay, over 60,000 wounded. All right, and now we have a confrontation with Yemen and the Houthis that are attacking ships that are going into Israel and going into this occupation, into this war, and causing this problem. Thank you to South Africa for bringing rightful charges against Netanyahu and the regime for genocide. This is absolutely genocide. I should know. My ancestors are still suffering a genocide at the hands of the police, those that are sworn to protect. All right? World War III is on its way, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? We have Iran, Iraq, we have Russia, we have the United States of America, we have Great Britain, we have all the usual suspects. We have China, all because there is people in that region that think that they have the God-given right to do whatever they want to do. And Netanyahu has told the International Criminal Court that regardless of their decision, they're going to continue to do what they're doing in Gaza till they kill everybody in that strip. That is a crime. How in the world can we as a civilized society let somebody continue to ethically cleanse and collectively punish people within good conscience? You go to a court and you present your case, and somebody gets up that the American government is supported with taxpayer dollars to kill children. He gets up and said, regardless of the outcome, we will not comply and stop. We need to understand that those are lives and those lives matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Amy?
Amy Bullock, Howland Avenue. I have more questions about the Taylor Bliss House. I also asked, did we have proof of insurance or a COI from the synagogue since they are still the owners? I'm also curious to know if there is, what's the plan on making that building usable? Is there a deadline that it needs to be done by? I understand the synagogue has some liability in making it usable. What's that liability? Is this going to sit into the infinite abyss like Liberty School and just continue to decay on city property, a building we don't own? And then my next question is, I want to understand more about what SID is, who's in SID, how are they chosen to be in SID, why does SID exist, what's the benefit of SID, do we fund SID, or is that funded through donations or grants? That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, Horace Ragbay again, 51 West Hamilton Avenue. I went through the last meeting that you guys had and reorganization meeting, and a lot of things have been common. We're talking about flood mitigation, transparency, accountability. I'm used to that. What I am concerned about is our new council member, Mrs. Davis, and she used the term Inglewood is in serious problems. I wanted her to elaborate on what she was talking about versus what has been going on for the past. And then she talked about, on the second portion of it, Inglewood needs to be put on the right track. So that means basically if it needs to be put on the right track, we will go in on the wrong track. So I wanted so we could start off this right and understand what her perspective is. Maybe she has something different that we look at or that we're not looking at. So I was concerned that when she used those two terms, Inglewood is not on the right track, and Inglewood problems, serious problems. So I would like her to address that, please.
No. It's not a back and forth. You know that, right?
Correct. I just
Okay,
was
so
concerned about it.
That's
So
her, that's her
wait,
comments, if she wants to share them with you offline or something like that, but it's not a
No, I was
discussion.
really concerned about that because I think we've been going to these meetings for a while and we look at the same items, the same things, and maybe she bring in something new that we haven't been seeing. So I want to get a little grip of that.
Contact her, she can talk to you about that.
Thank you.
But I don't think any problems that we have are secrets. And
I don't think so either.
so that's her comments. We're going to be as transparent as possible, other than talking about things that we can't talk about here. What I will tell everybody is that as we go through the year, especially with this master plan, we will be as transparent as possible. We know we got issues with affordable housing, flood mitigation, public safety and the like, but they will all be captured and there will all be conversations during the master plan. And you'll be able to participate just like everybody else will be. There's where the forum with it back and forth will take place.
Okay, one of the other things is we talk about transparency and accountability over and over and over. And I don't want the continuation of some of the meetings that we had last year where this totally got out of the way, that it became a problem. So I want to move.
What do you mean by that? What happened last
I
year?
mean, like some of the meetings got out of hand. You
There's
understand?
nothing going to be out of hand.
All right,
I will
we need to
tell you.
behave like human beings.
Yeah, no, we will. And I think we have. You know, I've let people speak over the 3 minutes that we have because I think that what they're saying is important. But also, I think that we're not going to have people just attacking people either.
Correct.
So that we don't need to do that. There should be a
must be
healthy
mutual.
dialogue where everybody gets what they need to get and they understand it. That's why I started with Mr. Hoffman now, answering the questions. Maybe he didn't answer all of them tonight, but he will continue to do that. Or if somebody else is deemed that they have an answer, anybody up on this dais can answer back to that. But the goal is to allow people to get answers or to have that discussion about a question that they have asked. Because I think that if people come out and make their time to come out here, that the least we can do is try to respond with it. We may not have the answer, but we can tell you that we don't have the answer, but we can go try to get the answer and come back to that. So we hopefully that it will be a healthy dialogue like that for this year. That's my hope.
Moving forward.
That's my hope.
How you doing? My name is Greg Wynn, resident here of Inglewood, Demarest Ave. I want to thank you guys for the body of work that you guys are doing, respectively, and everything that you guys are trying to, problem solve. My story is the same. My story has been written since '08 in the Inglewood Junior program, noticed by the Bergen Record, and some things on the state and other, levels. So I see that you had made some advancements in appoint Recreation Advisory Committee, liaison, members as far as the discussion. I know that I have, some areas that I can totally improve based off experience and the younger families and, people I've dealt with over the years. I have solutions. I know that. I did speak with the superintendent. In a meeting that we had, she had mentioned that she was looking to appoint a liaison of some sort because basically being overwhelmed. Not everything just totally verbally, but we were in that type of discussion. So there have been moments that I've listened here in the meetings and about nepotism and city workers, and but nothing in depth with volunteers. And the thing is that my belief in dealing with these young kids and these young parents that come to Inglewood to help the community thrive, that I can help stabilize these volunteers that is an extension to the city of Inglewood, so that I can help with a code of conduct and ethic to bring the next generation of this community along. Mr. Hoffman had made a statement that dealing with Rutgers. Sure, I've been there, done that with Rutgers, certified coach, back in the day with camps. But in the community, there has to be some other form of sub-government, if I may, with volunteers, because you just can't bring any and everybody along. Me as a businessman, when I look at anything that I deal with, there's always liability. And when you leave that out of the scope of any structure that you have, you are destined to doom. So I've just been nothing but a walking exhibition. Everything that I said that I could do, I've delivered, I've won, and we brought the championship home. So in advance, thanks for the value of your time.
That's going to end the public session. We're going to go into closed session. You have to read us into closed session. Huh? Just, let's have a motion and a second.
We go into closed session.
Good evening. All right. All in favor? Okay, we're good. All right, we're now in closed session.
Okay. It can be short or long.
So we are recording, everyone. Let me pull up my agenda real quick. So we just need a motion and a second to reconvene.
I make a motion that we reconvene out of
I
closed session.
second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
So we need now a motion and second for,
Need a motion and second
for the Board of
for
Adjustment
the Board of
resolution.
Adjustment
I
appointment.
make a
Number
motion
28.
to accept the Board of Adjustment.
I second.
That one's going to need a roll call.
Roll call.
I lost my agenda. Councilman Rosenzweig's not here. Councilwoman Wasatski.
Yes.
Councilwoman David.
Yes.
Councilman Wilson.
Yes.
And Council President Cobb.
Yes.
Okay, so now we need a motion.
We need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Sorry for keeping you so late.
I counted that.
Sorry about that. But we tend to want to have company.